Hello, my name is Peyton, and welcome to my cultural presentation on Napoleon Bonaparte I. To give an overview, Napoleon is considered one of the greatest military strategists and generals in all of history. He was an opportunist who swiftly rose to power and left a tremendous impact on France and all of Europe. Napoleon was born in Corsica in 1769. In actuality, Napoleon is not French, though since the island of Corsica was being ruled by France at the time, he became French. He resented his French overlords and mocked their funny accents. His father, however, was much quicker to accept their new rulers, which led to Napoleon losing respect for his father. He had a much better relationship with his mother, who he respected for being stoic and orthodox. Thanks to his father's assimilation to the new French culture, Napoleon was granted a scholarship to military academies on homeland France. There, he was bullied for his accent, but he excelled in history and math and was a proficient student. His studies led him to become heavily influenced by ancient Roman military techniques, especially those of Julius Caesar. He graduated from École Militaire in 1785, commissioned as a second-class lieutenant in the artillery, leading to his start in military leadership. But what was happening in France at the time? As Napoleon was operating as a military officer, the First French Revolution broke out in France. As the monarchs were overthrown, France started to engage in conflict with other European countries surrounding them. This led Napoleon to have his first true shining moment in the Siege of Toulon, 1793. Here, he was one of the only military operations to be successful at the French border. After the beheading of King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette at the blade of the guillotine, a new government called the Directory took over, which Napoleon used his advantage to gain power. He was able to gain trust with the Directory with the coup du Vendémiaire, in which he put a stop to an uprising. Inevitably, though, he was able to take power over the Directory with the coup du Brumaire, forming the consulat with him as the first consul. Not many people opposed this, as the Directory was fairly unpopular. Napoleon was able to so swiftly rise to power because of his consistent victories, like with his Italian campaign and his campaign in Egypt, his most famous battle being Austerlitz. Due to the failing government before his as well, he was able to easily seize the power and take the authority over France. To maintain popularity, he also introduced a lot of propaganda throughout France, namely but the painting on the right painted by Jacques-Louis David to enhance Napoleon's image. He also promoted revolutionary holidays like Bastille Day, as well as introducing new ones like St. Napoleon's Day. He also introduced many reforms which promoted and maintained his popularity, which we will discuss on the next slide. His policies and reforms were also a major factor in maintaining authority over France. He introduced the Napoleonic Code, which abolished feudalism, introduced equality before law, as well as many other things. Also, through the introduction of the Bank of France and the stabilization of the franc currency, he also reformed the education system by creating a system based on merit and his standardized lycées. Finally, he also helped cultivate religious reforms in France, with the Concordat of 1801, which reconciled the state with the Catholic Church. So it was a no-brainer when he declared himself emperor in 1804. As Napoleon grew in power, the other leaders in Europe started to fear him more. This, of course, led to the Napoleonic Wars, which was fundamentally France versus much of Europe. Though he won many battles through his campaigns throughout Europe, which gained France a lot of territory, Napoleon could not defeat Britain in naval battles, which was a major weakness of his. To try and counteract this, he implemented the Continental System, which intended to cut off supply lines from Britain to the rest of Europe, but no other country agreed with this and fought against him. This even led to the betrayal of Napoleon's once ally, Alexander I of Russia. This unfortunately led to Napoleon's campaign through Russia, where he entered with 600,000 men and left with only 100,000, ultimately leading to his downfall. Because he was such a threat, Napoleon was exiled first to Elba after the Battle of Leipzig. There he lived a fairly normal life and had a small position. He grew tired of this life, though, and with the threat of a possible assassination attempt, he decided to leave and take back France, where he marched through France. His old soldiers met him and were ordered to arrest him. Instead, however, they threw their guns down and proclaimed, "The Emperor has returned." Not wanting to take any chances, Europe decided to declare war on Napoleon himself, and would not stop until he was defeated. With the Battle of Waterloo, he lost, and was exiled to St. Helena, a remote island in which he was always monitored, and where 2 British ships circled the island constantly. He died a few years later on that island. All in all, Napoleon lived an exciting life which revolutionized France and forever changed Europe. To close, I would like to bring up a few other interesting facts about Napoleon. He married his first wife, Josephine, in 1796, and had a very shallow marriage. In 1803, Napoleon sold the Louisiana Territory to the U.S. for only $15 million because France was in considerable debt. The idea that he was short is actually a myth. And finally, his campaign in Egypt led to discovery of the Rosetta Stone. Here are my informational citations, as well as my image citations in order of appearance. All of these citations, as well as will all be in the description if you wish to access them. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.